Welcome to Beyond the Buzz, where curiosity meets clarity. I'm Dr. Tara Moroz, scientist and communicator with decades of experience translating complex human research into clear, evidence-informed insight. Today, we're looking at ultra-processed foods and health, and the question people are really asking, are these foods seriously harmful, or is this just another food panic? A simple label clue is this. If the ingredient list reads more like a formulation than a recipe, it may be ultra-processed. Think additives, flavor enhancers, colors, emulsifiers, sweeteners, or ingredients you would not normally cook with at home. Examples include soft drinks, packaged snacks, sweetened cereals, instant noodles, and many ready-to-heat meals. The concern is clear, but the real question is what to do with that information in everyday life. Let's take a closer look together, starting with what's driving the buzz. Ultra-processed foods are not a fringe part of modern eating. In the United States, among people aged 1 year and older, the average share of calories from ultra-processed foods was 55% during August 2021 to August 2023. Even after recent decreases among youth and adults, that is still a little more than half of total calories. There is also a large commercial story here. One market forecast estimated that the ultra-processed food market size would increase by over $850 billion between 2024 and 2029. So the buzz is not coming from nowhere. Ultra-processed foods sit in the middle of daily eating patterns, health research, and a very large market. That is why the topic travels so easily online. It touches what people eat, what companies sell, and what health headlines amplify. Let's check the evidence, our kind of receipt check. This is the moment to pause and ask the questions that matter. What's the evidence? What's the source? And how do we know? Here's what the evidence shows. The evidence supports taking the health concerns seriously. Across major health reviews, higher exposure to ultra-processed foods is consistently associated with poorer health outcomes. That pattern also appears in prospective cohort studies, where researchers follow groups of people over time. Higher ultra-processed food consumption was associated with higher risk of diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and dyslipidemia, meaning unhealthy blood fat patterns such as high triglycerides or low HDL cholesterol. The authors found a consistent positive association, while also noting that risk estimates varied depending on how intake was measured. The American Heart Association's scientific advisory focuses on ultra-processed foods and heart and metabolic health. Its key point is that higher consumption of ultra-processed foods is associated with risks to heart and metabolic health, while better evidence is still needed on which foods, ingredients, and patterns matter most. There is also evidence focused on all-cause mortality, meaning death from any cause during the study follow-up period. In that review, higher ultra-processed food consumption was associated with higher all-cause mortality risk. So, when people ask, are ultra-processed foods really that bad? The clearest evidence-based answer is, the concern is real. Higher intake is linked with worse health outcomes, including broad health outcomes, heart and metabolic health, and mortality risk. The important nuance is about cause. Much of the evidence is observational, meaning it can show links between ultra-processed food intake and health outcomes, but it cannot prove that processing alone caused every outcome. So the practical conclusion is not ignore ultra-processed foods. It is also not fear every packaged food. The better conclusion is to reduce ultra-processed foods as an overall pattern, especially when they become the default. So why does this trend resonate? Food is personal and shaped by real life. Ultra-processed foods show up in breakfast, snacks, school lunches, work days, travel, tight budgets, busy evenings, and family routines. People are not just asking, what does the evidence say? They're also asking, what does this mean for the way I actually live? And that is where the online conversation can become unhelpful. One side can make the concerns sound exaggerated. The other can make everyday eating feel like failure. The evidence gives us a better way through. We can take the pattern seriously without turning food into fear. So what's the takeaway? The bottom line is clear. Higher ultra-processed food exposure is linked with poorer health outcomes. What is less certain is how much comes from the processing itself, the overall diet pattern, or other factors connected with food choices. It makes sense to want clarity without food becoming fear. Your evidence edit moment. The evidence on ultra-processed foods is clearer than the online debate makes it sound. Higher intake is consistently linked with poorer health outcomes, including heart and metabolic health and mortality risk. Most of the evidence cannot prove processing alone is the cause, and some risk estimates vary depending on how intake is measured. But the pattern is consistent enough to take seriously. The clearest answer is to reduce ultra-processed defaults, not fear every packaged food. A practical place to start is not with a ban. It is to reduce how often ultra-processed foods become the default. That might mean swapping sweetened cereal for plain oats, soft drinks for water, packaged snack cakes for fruit and yogurt, or instant noodles for soup with vegetables, beans, eggs, or leftover chicken. The goal is not perfection. It is shifting the pattern over time. Something to reflect on. When you hear a claim about ultra-processed foods, is it helping you understand the pattern or pushing you toward fear, guilt, or certainty too quickly? If you found this useful, follow Beyond the Buzz and share it with a friend who likes a little science with their scroll. You can also explore the full transcript, the clarity poll, and evidence in the evidence edit. Until next time, stay curious and stay kind to your mind. This is Beyond the Buzz, cutting through the hype because evidence is empowering.